At last, Wandavision is here. We've got new Marvel content for the first time in what feels like an age. And I'm going to be doing a very kind of erratic, brief summary of the 2 episodes that we've had so far. Let's crack on. Straight to business. Episode 1. Now, at 3 minutes 39 seconds, you can stop the episode and take notice of the fact there's a calendar. Vision's mentioning on the calendar that there's a heart. What does the heart resemble? Is some kind of anniversary, or is, they're both trying to figure out what it means. But that isn't the point. The point is, if you look carefully, from what I've noticed on the calendar, it says all this little girl needs is a colour television. Obviously, the show, the sitcom style at the moment, first 2 episodes, is set when television wasn't in colour. It's not only a little hint to the future, colour television is coming, but it's also, I think you can read it in several different ways. Wanda is without Vision. Vision, at this moment in time, doesn't exist, and she needs him. Or that's how she feels. She doesn't have him at the moment. And that's what she needs. She needs Vision. But it's saying she needs a colour television. This is getting a bit... She's living in a world where there isn't colour at the moment. It's a make-believe world. And as I'll explain later, I think colour in these first 2 episodes symbolises reality, truth. And I'll get to that later, but I just thought it's a very interesting little thing on that calendar there that you've got to look closely for. But the fact that it says all this little girl needs is a colour television, cool little detail which I loved. Also, just a little noticed, what is on Vision's tie? It might not mean anything, but it's kind of a bizarre little rectangle with 2 stars in the middle. In the rectangle, it's probably nothing, but it's just a bizarre little pattern to have on a tie. I haven't seen a tie like that myself. Does it mean anything? If anyone knows, do let me know. 10 minutes 18 on the first episode. You can pause it and you see the Toasty advertisement for the toaster. Is it a Stark toaster? I can't remember. But anyway, a friend of mine quite rightly pointed out that when they put the toast down, plonk it down to be toasted, it made the sound of one of Iron Man's pulses, It made the Iron Man sound. That's the best I can explain it. And I think, as I'll explain with the Strucker watch later, this is a hark back to Wanda's past, some of the trauma from her past. Iron Man, in Age of Ultron, where she first appeared in a film, her and her brother they blamed Iron Man for her parents' death because Iron Man's munitions were used. One of his bombs, I think it was what killed her parents. The bleeping on the toaster as well is reminiscent of a bomb. Which is quite clever, and the red light, interestingly, is in colour. But the bleeping on it, toasters don't bleep normally, so it's very clever. The toaster's bleeping just like a bomb would. Now, at 18 minutes 56 seconds, things start to get a bit trippy, not trippy, but a bit freaky, a bit weird, a bit creepy. And it's when they're questioned about where have you come from. Why don't you have a family yet? What's your story? It's like she can't come up with any answers. There's confusion, and it's when she's questioned about almost reality that things start going wrong. And Vision only starts helping Mr. Hart once Vision commands him to. So for me, this is one of many instances implying his inexistence at the moment. He doesn't do it off his own bat. He has to be commanded by Wanda to do it because he isn't there. He doesn't exist. He isn't there to do it. Nobody's there helping Mr. Hart until Wanda commands it. Right at the end of the first episode, we see somebody making notes in a sword booklet. The end titles for the episode are playing on like a TV screen, and it's like someone's making notes, but obviously it's in colour. That bit's in colour, apart from what they're watching on TV. The Wandavision end credits are black and white. So it's intriguing. It's a very intriguing little bit. Basically, all you need to know is that Sword is S.H.I.E.L.D. but in space, effectively, and it's going to be run, we assume, by someone like Nick Fury. But their involvement is still a bit mysterious at the moment. Are they there to help? Are they not helping? My assumption so far is they're there to help Wanda. The way things are portrayed in the first 2 episodes is as if Sword is the threat to Wanda. But I think we're going to start to see that unravel throughout the series, that it might be the complete opposite. Now, jumping straight into episode 2, because 2 episodes were dropped at once. Episode begins with Wanda and Vision in 2 separate beds next to each other, and they hear a noise outside. And Wanda suggests that, doesn't suggest, she kind of says, one of us should take a look. But she puts an emphasis on one. As I mentioned earlier, for me, that's heavily implication that, again, there's only one of them. Only one of the 2 exist. Wanda exists. Next up, episode 2, at 4 minutes 25 seconds, Vision announces that Vision and Wanda are practicing their magic trick for the play later on, which is for the children, and so they're practicing their magic and their illusions. But on the cabinet of mysteries is the Soul Stone. Yeah, again, it probably doesn't mean much, but it's a heartbreaker. It's a little Easter egg. There's a running theme also throughout both these episodes of Wanda banging on about wanting to fit in. And later she mentions to Agatha, she'll just try and be herself, to which Agatha kind of laughs off in a bit of an embarrassing way for Wanda. And maybe that's the implication of her trying to fit in the real world, in reality, not in this make-believe one that she made. Maybe she doesn't feel like she fits in the real world, and she's desperately trying to fit in. Next up, Wanda's like plumping the cushions up in the house. She hears a crash outside, struggles to see anything, and then she notices a little red helicopter, all in colour. Nothing else is in colour, but the helicopter is in colour, and it has a sword symbol on it, and it has the number 57 on it, which I'm yet to find out what that means. I don't know what that means. If anyone does, do let me know. Very intriguing that is in colour. For me, again, as I've mentioned before, I think that from what I can see, colour probably symbolises reality in these episodes. And I think Sword is reality, and she's trying to suppress it. At 15 minutes 14 seconds, Dottie, this kind of control freak, little, just very annoying woman. Dottie says to Wanda, "I've heard things about you and your husband." To which Wanda steps forward and says, "Well, I can assure you, whatever you've heard, I mean no harm." Dottie says, "I don't believe you," or she doesn't believe her. The camera then focuses on the radio, and this noise coming out of it, this voice coming out of the radio saying, "Wanda, what are they doing to you? Who's doing this to you, Wanda?" And the camera focuses on a very anxious, Wanda's very anxious face, and Dottie says, "Who are you?" And it gets all very weird, creepy again, which is brilliant. The glass shatters and smashes in Dottie's hand and cuts her hand. Her hand starts to bleed, but we see the colour, we see the red, we see the blood, and it's interesting that every time there is colour in this episode, it's always red. There was a bit of yellow with the helicopter as well, but there's always red or tones of red whenever there's colour in this episode. But I guess that might be relating to Wanda's power. When she uses her powers, it's red, so that's probably why it's always red. This scene says Wanda doesn't mean any harm, but in reality, as I've mentioned before, she probably is doing harm. She's doing something. I think she's spiraling out of control in reality, in the real world. As I mentioned previously, 16 minutes, 53 seconds. There's a watch advert for the Strucker watch. This is another callback to a traumatic past, and on the watch has the Hydra symbol, and it's a Strucker watch, which is reference to von Strucker. Is it Baron von Strucker? One of von Strucker anyway. Who he was one of the guys who experimented on her and her brother Quicksilver, and that's just a flashback to a past again. 26 minutes and 8 seconds. This is Monica Rambo here, who appears in the Cabinet of Mysteries. She turns up for the first time in the episode earlier on, but for those of you who don't know, Monica Rambo is a character from Captain Marvel. She was the little girl in Captain Marvel. Now, basically, all you need to know is she's in the series. She's going to be a superhero of sorts. But why is she in this series? For us Marvel fans, this is the most intriguing thing. Why is she in this series? My betting is she works for S.W.O.R.D. somehow, because there's that connection to Nick Fury. How she's got into this world of Wanda's is very fascinating. There's a line that Monica says after she's been brought out of the Cabinet of Mysteries. She says, "Once again, I'm backstage, and then I'm suddenly in a dark cubbyhole." And you look at Wanda's face while she's saying that. She looks a bit, not suspicious, but a bit guilty while Monica's saying all of that. Is that a little bit of evidence that Wanda is getting people from the real world and somehow capturing them in this false reality, and that's part of her doing harm to other people? So maybe S.W.O.R.D. are looking for Monica Rambo. Maybe that's it. Maybe S.W.O.R.D. are looking for Monica, and they're trying to stop Wanda from doing any more damage. At 28 minutes and 14 seconds, a sword guy comes out of the ground, out of this manhole cover, a beekeeper, and he's got a sword symbol on his back. Another reference to S.W.O.R.D. And this is all very weird and creepy, and Wanda doesn't like it. And this is the most interesting bit. She says, no. It's like she's not having any of it. The film rewinds all the way back to her announcing to Vision that she's pregnant. She then asks Vision, is this really happening? And he says, yes, it is. Now, of course, we know, first 2 episodes, we know that none of this is reality. So it's interesting to say, it's like she's in denial. She's suppressing the fact that S.W.O.R.D. is reality. Something with S.W.O.R.D. is happening to her, and it's made to feel like something is coming for her, and she doesn't want it. She wants to stay suspended in this make-believe world. And at that point, everything starts to turn to colour. But first off, it's Vision's face that turns to colour, then the whole room around them turns to colour. Now, going back on the theme of, well, my theme, it's not really true, but we don't know if it's true yet, but my suspicion that colour is reality. If colour is reality, does this now mean Vision is reality? I'm pretty sure that at some point, Wanda is going to have powers of manifestation. She has them in the comics. Is this at the point where she's dwelt on this world and she's willed it so much, this make-believe reality, that she's got more power than she realises, and she can manifest things even without her realising? Is this at the point at which she has manifested Vision? The colour on Vision maybe, for me, symbolises how she's now created Vision, possibly. And not only that, has she created her twins? Because I think her twins might become reality in the MCU as well. We'll see, because in the comics there's a bit of ambiguity about it. Made out that they're not real, then it turns out that they are real. So, but it's going to get more convoluted and more weird as the episodes go on, and it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. Until next week's bonkers episode, I shall see you then.